Hello and welcome to this week's video blog from the Center for Human Awakening. My name is Rob Meager. I'm co-founder of the center. For this video blog, I'll share a reading from Richard Harvey's book, Your Essential Self. And this reading is titled, The 7 Stages of Forgiveness. A single act of genuine forgiveness carries tremendous power. Holding on to injustices enslaves us to the past. Forgiveness frees us from the past. We conceal feelings of anger and vengeance beneath the virtuous covering of justification to protect us from losing these feelings. Anger can be used as a defense against our deeper feelings of pain and despair. Deep resentment and anger reinforce our feelings of separateness. Everyone has something and someone to forgive. Guilt and blame are endemic today. Negative states like bitterness, frustration, agitation, anguish, vengeance, and resentment are all expressions of our refusal to forgive. But they are hardly noticed because everyone shares them. In spite of our pressing need for forgiveness, we are reluctant to truly forgive because forgiveness erodes the foundation of our personality. Shedding blame, revenge, and a victim mentality threatens our small sense of self. So the wily ego invents ploys, intricate maneuvers, and pretenses. The first stage of forgiveness is admitting that we are attached to vengeance. This means owning our feelings of anger and resentment, which often have their origins in the distant past. We must admit that we feel angry and then find out what it is that we are angry about before we can work on our attachment to revenge. The second stage is exploring the complex emotions that prevent us from letting go of blame and anger and keep us feeling vengeful. Denying or concealing our deeper feelings binds us to the acts and the people we are unwilling to forgive. Our sense of offense, indignation, and outrage may be so powerful that we are unwilling to let them go, even when they cause us great suffering. Our sense of self and our self-importance conceal our victim stance, and hopelessness and self-pity are the adverse byproducts. The third stage is becoming aware of our reaction, how we dealt with what happened to us, and working with our desire for vengeance. We may fantasize about a series of acts that those who have hurt us would have to perform, or ordeals they would have to endure to deserve our forgiveness. But in reality, we do not really intend to forgive them, whatever their attempts to make amends. The fourth stage is discovering our investment in blaming and letting go of it. We may feel self-important and be unable to see our part or take responsibility for what we did to the other. Or we may feel justified in our vengeance. Or we may not want to take responsibility for our life and seek justification for revenge in our suffering. Or we may succumb to feelings of grief and anguish and find our identification and pleasure in these negative states stronger than our tendency toward joy and contentment. The question at the fourth stage is, what is my investment in blaming the other? And it is a hard question to answer honestly, unless we take deep responsibility for our negativity. The fifth stage is finding out who is suffering most from our not forgiving. And the answer, of course, is ourselves. We see that we have become our worst oppressor, the voice inside us, modeled on our mother, father, grandmother, teacher, or whomever it is who rakes over the events of the past, is our own. It is only we who prolong the feed it and feed it, so it is within our power to stop it. If we reach this stage of forgiveness, we begin to be empowered to truly forgive. The sixth stage is the juggling stage. We must hold all of these levels of inquiry together simultaneously. Knowing more, feeling more, revealing more, letting go of more, seeing more. Then we see that our sense of ourselves, our feelings of presence, exist only in the present, and that this is the one thing that is constant in our lives. One fact becomes startlingly clear. We cannot let go of the past unless we learn how to forgive. Forgiveness is the way to our being who we truly are, the path to our freedom. The insight dawns in us that we have traded ourself, the present moment, and our whole life for the dubious rewards of anger and revenge. In the seventh and final stage of forgiveness, we reach a deep acceptance of what has been done to us by others. Whatever the deed and whoever the perpetrator, forgiveness enables us to take back the power we have lost. We relinquish our right to reject, blame, and hate what happened or who did it. Instead, we become aware of how we have grown, not in spite of, but through the experience. Deep acceptance is not condoning what has happened. It is not saying that a wrong is somehow right. Rather, it is the recognition that what has happened is now past, and we are going to suffer no longer. Practicing forgiveness leads us to a profound realization. Withholding forgiveness maintains the illusion of the small self, our separate, unconnected, opposed identity that fights for survival in a hostile world and defends itself with negativity and concealed aggression. When we do not forgive, we separate ourselves from life. Forgiveness is fiction because there was never anything or anyone to forgive. The presumption of one person forgiving another for what they did to them is a rational argument riddled with spiritual inaccuracies. At the deepest levels of working with forgiveness, we can see that the idea of a separate entity is transparently false. Forgiveness provokes the profound acceptance of ourselves. We find that we have been carrying outer forms of madness, blame, anger, and grief that merely mirror the shadow forms of our inner world. Forgiveness permeates our inner world with love and clarity. A single act of genuine forgiveness carries tremendous power. To forgive once truly is to forgive all. Practicing forgiveness frees us from repeating experiences of pain and outrage, sorrow and grief, and empowers us to live freely, joyfully, and spontaneously in the world.